When we accomplish something other for Yah, is it our will? Is it His will? Is it our will together? Whose will is it? Hi, this is Barry Phillips of 10-Minute Torah, day 2 of Pekudei. Let's go back to the verse that we read yesterday, Exodus, Shemot, chapter 38 and verse 22, that again, it says, and Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Yehudah, made all that Yahweh had commanded Moshe. And it says, following, and with him, Oholiab, son of Asamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer and embroiderer in blue and purple and scarlet material and in fine linen. The chapter goes on to detail the various things that they were able to accomplish. Yesterday, we talked about the word and its liberty and its constriction. It can be overwhelming in a positive sense or in a negative sense. Today, let's look at a little bit different aspect of that, and that is that in order to accomplish what it is that Yah is asked or is requiring of us, there has to be the determining of our will. It is often expressed, well, if it's the Lord's will, then that's what we'll do. Or if it's His will, it will be done regardless. If Yah has a plan and His will is decreed to us, is it going to happen whether we are involved or not? Or is there any chance that the will of Yah can be frustrated, stymied, or stopped? Well, let's look at this on a few levels here. One is there is the plan of Yah that has been decreed from the beginning or before the beginning of time. Before all creation, that plan will ultimately come to pass. When we read at the end of the book of Revelation, chapter 21, not the last chapter, but the next last chapter, the first several verses, tells us that we are regaining a Garden of Eden type of existence where New Jerusalem, the renewed Jerusalem, comes down from heaven. The city is set on the earth, and the dwelling of Elohim, the Creator, same term for Him is used all the way back in Genesis, Bereshit chapter 1, is now with man. And there are great benefits to that existence. So that plan will take place. Hasatan will be destroyed. The anti-Mashiach will be destroyed. The tempter will be no more. And mankind will no longer have a serpent to usurp the will of Yah. The will of Yah initially was for Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, to live forever. That was the way they were designed and created, to be eternal beings. That was Yah's will. They chose to act outside of Yah's will, and as far as the will of Yah is concerned, they sabotaged, is a good word, the will of Yah for themselves. They indeed lived a very long time by comparison to our current day of living. But nevertheless, the will of Yah was frustrated in their regard. Therefore, also the will of Yah for all mankind has been challenged until this day. It will eventually be rectified. It will eventually be thoroughly purged, and the will of Yah will prevail. When it comes to the will of Yah, then it is up to us as to whether we accept His will for us or not. Now, you are always Yah's plan A. Yah wants to use you. Yah wants to work through you. You can choose to step out of that will, and unfortunately, there are consequences for doing so. But Yah's will prevail. With or without you, it will prevail. When it came to the performance of what Yah had intended and desired for Bezalel and Oholiab, they chose the will of Yah. They chose to do what it was He wanted. That the end resulting project – and all of its design, functionality, its appearance, All of its measurements were exactly what was required of them. And so when they presented to Moshe, he agreed, this is what the Creator, what Yah has wanted. This is done, and it's done faithfully. This implies then that Bezalel listened to what Moshe communicated to him and was faithful in rendering the end result, not involving his own will or his own way, but rather he denied himself and whatever imaginative alterations he might have come up with. Well, I just think instead of a curve, it should be straight, or instead of this design, it should be that design. Who are we to improve on the design of Yah? We're not. Let's go to the life of Yeshua. Toward the end, before he was hung on the tree, Shimon Kepha looked at him after they were told that Yeshua said, we're going into Jerusalem. I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to be handed into the hands of those who desire to kill me, and they're going to take my life. And Shimon Kepha says, not so, Yah. Not so, Yeshua. We're not doing it that way. You and I, we're going out in a blaze of glory. Everyone else may forsake you, but I'll never forsake you. And he was dependent upon Shimon Kepha, his ruggedness, his brawn, his strength, his physical prowess, maybe a sword that he had tucked in somewhere. And Yeshua reproved him for that. But that was not the last wrestling of flesh. So when Yeshua looked at Shimon Kepha and said, "Get behind me, Hasatan, you're an offense to me," he knew what was stirring up the flesh of his devoted follower. And it wasn't a righteous inclination of the spirit. It was a dependency upon the flesh. And the two sometimes can be so close in their presentation that it takes keen hearts and a discerning spirit to determine which is which. Yeshua himself, in the garden, when he prayed, he wrestled with his own flesh. As it says, that he asked, is there another way? That must this cup be taken of? Can it pass from me? Is there another design? Can I die, but I die another way? It would be more glorious if I died in battle, surrounded by my followers, and we all go out together as martyrs, and it will maybe lead a cause and an uprising, and Rome will be overthrown. That was the way of man. That was Shimon Kepha's thinking. That was perhaps Judas's thinking. Yeshua ended up praying what we all must learn to pray. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. How easy it is to actually say those words, and sometimes we put passion and emotion behind it. But when it comes to the subjugating of our own fleshly inclinations and our will and our desires to that of the Master, at least two things need to take place. One is that we have to discern what the Father's will is. Now, yes, there is the overall plan that is detailed for us in the Word, but I'm talking about as it applies to our daily life, as it applies to a given situation where we are encountering some sort of issue. What is your will, Father? What do you want me to do? Secondly, is to determine what our will is. Again, the two can kind of get tied together to where we say, okay, now that I know your will, I can see what my will is, and I take my will and I cast it down and I accept your will instead. It's a hard thing to do at times, but the grace of Yah, the empowering ability of Yah to do his will is available for us. May you find that grace today and accomplish His will. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. Till then, shalom.